How you guys doing today, man? Boy, welcome to the Hood Nerd Red Pill Talk presents the deep dive. That's right. There's been some changes in the format. We inching toward a year, and I think a week or so. And after spitballing all this time, I've kind of found my niche and my way through all of it. So, from here on out, episodes gonna top out at an hour. It'll be a lot of everything gonna be a deep dive from here on out, which is why we changed the name of it. So, some episodes they'll just be one, but for the most part, these things will now turn into maybe like 3, 4, 5 part series of subjects I'm gonna deep dive into. Right now we're doing the color purple. We in part 2 of that. We'll probably do the Matrix soon. Boys in the Hood. The Moynihan Report. The Moynihan Report will be, if it's not the next series we'll tap into, then it'll definitely be after I do Boys in the Hood. But there's a theme around what I'm getting ready to do right now. So from here on out, we'll always be releasing on Wednesdays, some Saturdays, but definitely every Wednesday I'll be here showing up. So, that is the update for that. Let's get into the episode. We left off with Sophia and Harpo doing their thing, and Sophia basically emasculating Harpo in front of Mister, which at this point, like I said, we 50 minutes into the movie, we still don't, 30, 40 minutes into the movie, we still don't even know what Mister's name is. But it was the more so, like I said, of them being happy to be married initially when they walked in, to by the time she finished talking with Mister, we hearing her say what? Why would anybody want to marry him? He can't even provide for himself. Which is, like I said, it's what we see in a lot of relationships on a regular basis, especially in our culture, where it's just like, he's the greatest guy in the world. No man has ever loved me like this. And the second is over this, he did this. He was terrible. He was this. He was whacking bed. So you get all those things going on. And then you ask yourself, well, why was you in that relationship then? It is why I preface a lot of times, make sure you in a relationship with somebody who's your best friend. And as I say, I was talking to my girl this morning about that, when it's like, women need to do a better job of accepting, what they want out of a relationship. If you're looking for a man who you want to provide for you, and that's what's most important, then looks and sexual satisfaction, that don't need to really be, of main importance to you. Like, you just gonna have to understand, if this is what's most important, once you get that, be satisfied with that. If height was most important, be satisfied with that. If finding your best friend is most important, find that, be satisfied with that. Because once you get it, if you say it's still not enough, then again, we have to bring up the whole agents of chaos conversation. So we finished up with that part, and now Sophia is storming out of the house. She sips her lemonade, and she looks at Mister and says, looks like somebody around here knows how to treat a lady. Again, that's Celie giving her the lemonade. So a soon-to-be husband don't know how, misogynistic pig, even though he's weak. Mister doesn't know how. So again, that's another time in this movie where they've referenced, Only a woman knows how to really tend to a woman. So now, am I to actually believe as I'm looking at this movie now, could Alice Walker have been a lesbian? I don't know. And we'll deal with that probably at the end of part three because I think we probably have another part to that. So, like I said, Wednesdays, every Wednesdays, most definitely. As I'm recording this now, I'm probably gonna do an hour worth here and then do another hour after this, chop them both up, release this one tomorrow, and then release part three Saturday morning. So now there's this tug of war between Sophia and Mister over who Harper will listen to. And we know who won that. The ABW, the angry black woman, won that. Now, do we have an issue with that? No, not at all. I don't have an issue with that at all. That's his soon to be wife. That's where his allegiance should be at that point. So I won't even really, talk too bad about that one way or the other. So we kind of wonder, like I said, what type of family did Sophia come from? Because she's aggressive toward men. And even though you have a lot of women telling you women didn't have a lot of rights back then, and they suffered in silence a lot back then, that movie tends to paint another picture. This movie tends to paint the picture that the matriarchy already existed. Because when you think about it, all of the women on Sophia's side, they ran the relationships. Those were the aggressors. So you have to understand Sophia came from a matriarchy. There's no respect for men over there. The women lead, men follow. And to each his own. If that's what you choose to belong to, that's what you choose to get into, so be it. So be it. But as you remember, once they got married, they said their adieus. You saw a big huddle of husky, thick women who kind of got up there, and the men were back, just kind of like smiling, smirking. But it wasn't the men, like leading. You didn't see her father give her away. You just saw a boatload of women. So, that would explain how she maneuvers. For me, Sophia's character, watching back, that is the birth, from what I can remember, of the masculine, feminine woman. Now, that hybrid is very interesting. Because when we put that in today, we have what? The I can do bad all by myself woman. There's also the same woman who does what? She comes to you and she says what? I'm tired of leading. I'm tired of being an aggressor. Now, you have to understand, she wants to lead. See, she's not fine with equality. And that's kind of where I tell people my issue with the feminist movement is at this point. This movement is not about equality. It used to be. It used to be about women's rights and all of that. But the Black feminist movement is not about, I won't even say the Black feminist movement. The feminist movement in general is no longer about equality. It's about female supremacy. It's about, we want you guys to move in the way that we want you guys to move. And we're fine with that. So now they come with these conversations of what? Toxic masculinity. Everything a man does is toxic masculinity. Every time he has something to say that disagrees with anything she says, sexual liberation, toxic masculinity. Being against a matriarchy, Toxic masculinity. A woman can't rear a boy into manhood. It's toxic masculinity. The confusion between lesbian women when they say, I'm not attracted to men, but your lesbian girlfriend has a bald head and his own testosterone and got a beard and all of that. There's just a lot of confusion going on. And the tail is leading the dog at this point when you're dealing with the feminist movement. So, Sophia was just as masculine as the men, but she was also a nurturer because you saw her feeding her child and all of that. And it's why I said the I can do bad all by myself woman. Now, see, like I said, I don't have a problem with that, but the problem that arises out of that is this. Mom has to be now nurturer and the punisher, the disciplinarian. So now that she has to play both roles, it causes a boatload of confusion. A boatload of confusion. Because at 4 or 5, now that she's the leader of the house, see, at first it's my son is my baby. But now at 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, she's telling you boys don't act like that. Boys behave like this. Well, how would you know how a boy behaves? Which is why they're with this whole, we're trying to erase gender also. Because they understand the trick bag they're being put in at this point. So now their thing is we'll try and erase the term gender. Because that's what works for the narrative at this point. But how does a woman know at 8, 9, 10 years old how a boy would act? It wasn't a boy. And it's also a bigger issue in society, to be honest, is women tend to believe they understand how men think. And they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. So after Sophia fights, well, let's go first. First, Harpo asks Miss Sealy, what should I do? Mr. has warned them, don't let your woman talk to you like that. Now, Sealy, beat her. Those were her words to Harpo. Not a man. The woman told her, beat her. And you know why? Because Sealy was jealous of Sophia's strength. She wanted her to be in control and feel the same way she felt. Birds of a feather flock together. Crab in the barrel mentality. I'm getting my head kicked in. Why don't you get your head kicked in? She's how our coach operates. So after they send Harpo off on his suicide mission, Sophia kicks his head in. So again, like I told you, this is what they're showing you now. Mr.'s father doesn't respect women. Mr. doesn't respect women. And now Mr. is basically the rapist. Let's go back. Sealy's father is a child molester and a rapist, basically. And as they would like to say, pedophile, but that's a whole nother conversation. So that's what Sealy's father is. He's molesting now the youngest daughter, Nettie, and he's also married to the young girl who Sealy says is close to her age. So no, he's not worth nothing. Mr. basically bought Sealy, and she basically insinuated that he raped her. That she just lay there. She take it. First day she got there, Harpo busted in the head. She's bleeding, bandaged up. He just get on top of it at the end of the night, have sex with her, get off of her. So he is what he is. So now we have basically 2 rapists Mist is a man who beats women. And then you have the feminine man in Harpo. Still no strong black stand-up man. So, like I said, after she fights Harpo and bludgeons him pretty good, she then goes to Celie and states, a girl child ain't safe in a family of men's. I don't know. I understand why they wrote that, but I get irritated to this day when I hear women and men put an S at the end of that. Love and Marriage Huntsville, Tasha's mother, Viv, just chaps my ass, irritates it very much when I hear her state, Marcel, men's don't act like that. Men is plural already. There's no need for S at the end of men or women. But I get it. I get it. But like I said, she then goes and states a girl child ain't safe in a family of men. No child is safe in a family of men if you think he's a pedophile. If he's attracted to a 6-year-old girl, he's attracted to a 6-year-old boy. Because at that point, it's just a hole to go inside. Both bodies are the same at that point, except one has a vagina and one has a penis. There's no breasts on the little girl. Men ain't developed. And I keep telling women this. Men have been molested as boys. A bunch of the men you see walking around with all of this macho machismo and bravado and all of that, it was molested just like the women are. The numbers are very, I would almost say, you could probably say 50 to 60% of black men have been molested as a child, and some sexually molested as a child in some shape, fashion, or form, whether it be by an adult woman or by a man. But when you say girl children not safe, a girl child ain't safe in a family of men, again, all you're doing is portraying men as sexual predators. That's it. So she's basically just saying all men are sexual predators, and not all. The majority of men are sexual predators and deviants. That's what we're getting out of that. Now, when she says, Sophia goes to Celie and also says, I'll kill him dead before I let him beat me. You have to understand, she was the aggressor though. So you have to understand, when someone is the aggressor, what they're now trying to picture to portray is now they want to paint her as the victim. And this is what I tell you, this is what ails a lot of black men in this community, is black women are allowed to be super aggressive, super loud, super physical. And it's like I tell you, the damsel in distress. They're allowed to do all of that and play all of those roles. And then this is the role they play at the end. She can smack him, she can punch him, she can hit him. He has to take it because he's a man, he's supposed to. Now, in the same trick bag, though, they'll tell you, Sophia will tell you, a woman can beat a man. Women want equality with men. They always want equality with men until they get into certain aspects where they know it could never be equal. And then they'll tell you, I'm just a woman. You're a man. There's a difference. We understand there's a difference. That's why the whole equality argument is retarded. And I'll say this again, even though I've stated this in other episodes. I'm 6'5" 3/4, basically 6'6". I'm 6'6", 295. There's nothing Like there's no way to look at a man who's 5'7", a buck 60, a man 5'7", a buck 60. We're not gonna ever be equal. There are gonna be things I can go touch, he can't touch. There are gonna be things done physically I can do, he just can't do. So equality, when people keep saying we want equality, yes, if you're talking equal pay, that's fine. I get it. I'm all for it. When we start, you talking about voting rights, fine. I'm all for it. When you start getting into this whole, yo, I can do this job the same as he. No, you can't. No, you can't. And you want me to tell you, I know you can't, because there's certain men who can't do the job I do. Just like there's certain men who do jobs I can't do. There's certain men who are 5'6", 5'7". They can, in a buck 40, they can get in certain holes and crevices in places in terms of work wise. I just can't do. So they'll be able to fill certain positions I can't fill. Is that fair? No, but it is what it is at that point. He's shorter than me. He's just going to be able to do certain things and get certain places that I just can't. And it just is what it is. The same as I can touch certain places that he just can't. And that's just because of my height. So, the whole equality thing, like I said, in its purest form, what feminism was trying to accomplish, I get it, and I'm with it. What it has spawned into, this is turning into female supremacy at this point. And you can tell because now there are agendas where they're pushing and they're trying, especially in the Black culture, they're trying to push certain male images up front. And this is the image these are the images they want to portray for Black men. He's gay and he's hanging out with women over here. Or they want to pull the Pookie and Ray Ray card where he a low-life hood dude who not taking care of his children and a menace to society. They never really want to center and focus the good dudes who going to work every day, providing for their children, and being model citizens. That's not the image even our own women want to portray. And it's why I always tell you they are co-conspirators in the demise of the Black man in this culture. But let's get back to that. So after 3 children, they don't have 3 children yet at this point. She's pregnant, I believe, with the first child when he hits her, and she beats his head in. So you decide to have 2 more children with him. And that's fine. But see, at that point, don't come to me and tell me you're scared or you tired and you fed up with this. You understood what you was dealing with when the first child came. I'll give you a pass for that. To have 2 more means now you're just as complicit in all of this as he is, but they love the aggression. So you get those situations where as women, I told you last episode, everybody feel a way, but at least they feel something, be it good or bad. They can care less. All they want you to do, though, is feel something. Either he's loving me too hard or he's demoralizing me. But at least there's some type of emotion involved. See, the one thing I always say that's probably my biggest flaw when it comes to being in a relationship with women. I'm going to be indifferent 80% of the time. If it's not truly affecting me, I don't care. It just is what it is. Like if I see it, if there's a woman who's getting loud and crying and emotional and all of that, if it's not something I can fix, I'm out, man. Like I'm not getting ready to sit here and pamper and pander to that type of behavior. It is what it is. I don't have time for it. You want to scream and yell? That's cool. You scream and yell, vent. I'll come, tell you I love you, give you a kiss on the forehead. I'm gonna grab my hat and I'm either go for a walk or go wherever and clear my head and kind of get my mood right. But yeah, you're not going to put me emotionally in a place that I'm not at so that at least we can match something and I can be on par with you. You feeling down, so you want to bring me down. I'm cool. If that's how you want to live and that's the headspace you in, you deal with that. I'm not dealing with that. So the matriarchs in Sophia's family, they come and get her and the children and they leave. And again, no men came. No men came. She came, brought her crew. I don't know if that was her mother, cousins, aunties. They all came through. And what did they do? They grabbed Sophia. They grabbed those children. They packed up. And they got out of there, man. So we go to the next thing I noticed. Now you notice the name on the side of the mailbox is Johnson. Mr. Johnson. Kind of symbolic, don't you think? Man's private part, his penis, is referred to as what? Johnson. That's his Johnson. That's why I said the symbolism in here is crazy as an adult to kind of sit and watch. As I've accrued and accumulated all of the knowledge that I have now. To sit back and watch it now, you notice so many different things. So many different things. Now we find out Mr. couldn't say no to his father also. Because Mr.'s father was very disrespectful. Old Sergeant Waters from A Soldier Story, man. It's another movie I'm going to do a deep dive on also. There's a lot of symbolism in that too. But his father disrespected Suge on a lot of levels. And it also showed you, though, that Mr. is what we call a simp and socially awkward. And see, the simp a lot of times, that's why I said, when you have these high value conversations, so you can be a nerd and still, you can be a nerd, take care of your family financially. That don't mean you're a good guy. And that's kind of where I think these whole high value women and men conversations, they fall off the rails and get off the tracks to me. Because the money is fine, but that doesn't show your character. That doesn't show me whether you can lead or not. So that's fine. You know, you make $300,000-$400,000 a year, $200,000-$300,000 a year. All of that is great. But now the next question is, what does the money actually bring to a relationship when she has money? She doesn't need you. How can you communicate? And I say that to kind of go back to, you can tell now when his father's disrespecting Suge and saying, yo, that woman has slept all around town, man. She's a Jezebel. That's usually who the simp falls in love with. Because that's who he fantasizes about. See, all his sexual fantasies come off of the nudie magazines and the pictures and all of that. He's socially awkward. He doesn't know how to go out and talk to women and, hey, what's your name, miss? Or you see a woman at the coffee shop, she reading a book, what are you reading? You know, what is it about? It's interesting. They don't know how to strike up conversations. That's also why there's that divide between the socially awkward nerd guy and the so-called hood dude, the Pookie and Ray Ray. They are very jealous that the hood dude has the social skills because he has to communicate to live in the world he lives in. He can talk to women and have sex with women. This guy's thing is, I've done everything you told me to. I went to school. I'm intelligent. I got a decent job. I'm doing well for myself, and I can't get the woman. She want to go deal with somebody who got 5 baby mamas and not even working. That's the trick bag. That's the divide. To be honest with you, in the black culture between black men, that's the divide. The Pookies and the so-called nerds are jealous of the so-called Pookie and the Ray Rays because they are able to have sex with the women they desire. And even when they get those women still continue to cheat with the so-called Pookie and the Ray Ray. And they can't understand why that is. I know why it is, because the nerds are usually socially awkward. They've been made fun of their entire life for being smart. So they basically turn into introverts now. And as they get older, they don't even want to come out of this shell, because it's like anything I say, they're going to laugh at. If I don't come off as cool, they're going to laugh at it. But you also know you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. You just can't. Just like you can't turn the so-called proverbial Pookie and the Ray Ray, the dude who got 5 kids and 3 or 4 baby mamas, you're not going to be able to turn him into a stand-up dude. He is what I won't say a stand-up dude. You won't turn him into the monogamous husband you're looking for. You just won't be able to. It's not in his DNA. It's not in his nature. It's not how he's wired. So, you kind of look at that when you get to his father coming to visit him, and his father's letting him know, yo, you need to, at least Celie can keep house well. And see, that's the lesson his father was trying to get him to understand. It's bigger than sex, son. It's bigger than sex. I know who you're attracted to, and all that is fine. But you need to focus on taking care of this house, this estate, and these children. And Celie does all of those things for you. What you're searching for, which is in most relationships. Most people have what they're looking for right next to them, but they're always seeking something else. Agents of chaos. They never satisfied. Most people are never content, man. They're always searching for the next best relationship. It's why you have these women who, I've been married. I'm on my 5th husband. You got men. I'm on my 7th wife. A lot of people are never content, and they're always chasing goals. So like I tell you already, there's nothing for me and my ex-wife already to ever do again. I read that story already. I understand how this book ends already. So if I go back now, as Mr. is trying to do with Suge, and wait for that, that's saying I want to read this book again. Everything gonna play out the same, but I'm gonna hope the outcome is the same. That's insanity. That's not gonna work. So Suge gets that, and now we have the whole colorism card is getting ready to start getting played. Because what is Suge? Suge is what you would call brown skin. Celie is dark. So there's a thing now where you look and it's like, it was Whoopi ugly back then? No, I still don't think, to be honest, Whoopi is a ugly woman. But like I said, I have a biasness for chocolate women, so, and to each his own. But I don't think Whoopi was ugly back then. I think they put in a lot of weird outfits to make her look worse and perpetuate a stereotype. But no, I don't think Whoopi was ugly at all. But you get Suge to come in, and then these are the stereotypes we already start playing. Yeah, I got a man, but he always going with the brown skin girl or the hot yellow girl. And the first thing Suge does when she looks at Miss Celie, say what? You sure is ugly. Now, Celie never forgets that. And you know why? Because her stepfather's already told her she's ugly. Her husband is telling her she's ugly. Now you get a woman to come tell her she's ugly. So at that point, you hear these things enough, you tend to believe it. She then refers to Celie as a thing when she says, get that thing to get me something to eat. Not even as a human being. So now again, This is where we get this whole, when they say the black woman is the most disrespected woman, it's really the dark-skinned black woman is what we're talking about. Because the dark-skinned black woman, well, then when you talk to her, she'll tell you the brown-skinned and the light-skinned woman don't live what I live. Now, the brown-skinned woman gonna tell you, yeah, I'm doing a little better than the dark-skinned woman, but the light-skinned woman get everything. And then the light-skinned woman gonna come and tell you, yeah, I get all of this, but I'm still not the white woman. And this is again, the whole cycle of the silliness that goes on out here. And it's all about what they're gonna tell you. Society dictates that. Yes, society dictates it, but guess what they're telling you? That they're in control of how you view yourself. And like I said last episode, self-esteem is just that. It's your self-esteem. There's nothing I can do to make you feel like you look better than what you actually see in the mirror. Yeah, my girl could say, yo, babe, you look good. You fine. I'm attracted to you. If I look in the mirror and don't like what I see, it's falling on deaf ears. And I'm gonna give this one example before we get back to it. You ever find that girl who she put a selfie out on Instagram or Facebook and it's 500 likes and it's 200 comments and it's 196 comments of girl, you gorgeous. And she won't respond to none of those. But the 2 comments that see, yeah, you all right, or yeah, I don't like this, she go and jump dead in on them and call them haters and all that. And you know why? Because they live in a world where as long as it's one, that one loud voice to them, that one loud voice or those 2 voices out of that 198 or whatever comment, in her head, that represents the majority now. Now you got 196 saying you look good. You got 300 likes though also. So you got all of this saying you look good, but just 2 bad comments. To them, that overshadows that small 2 overshadows the 300 likes. So, like I said, guys, when you're dealing with women who got self-esteem issues, you'll be in for a roller coaster in a relationship. So now, if you have your own self-esteem issues or you're not equipped emotionally and mentally to deal with that, the relationship will die sooner or later. So now we are 50 minutes in and Celie finds out that her husband's name is Albert. Suge was the only one who knew his name. You never heard his name. Well, his father knew also, but you never heard his name throughout the whole movie until Suge Avery got here. He had never told his wife what his name was. So now we get to the scene where Mr. is cooking breakfast for Suge, which now shows he's clueless in the kitchen. Again, like I said, they'll keep perpetuating certain stereotypes. Men are useless except for sex and physical activities, that going to work, providing. That's all we basically are needed for here. It's sex, and a lot of women just say sex so you can procreate. Give them a child. But it's sex and going to work to provide. That's basically now in the society that we're in, the box you put in. And it shows you how helpless he is because this is his own house. He can't find anything. Can't fend for himself without Celie, which again shows you how much more important and vital a woman is to the man's life for him to survive. With something as simple as working the stove, the man didn't even know how to work the stove. Now, granted, when Celie first moved in, his wife had already been dead. It was plates and food all over the stove. So he had already been cooking. So obviously, he knew how to work the stove. We didn't have takeout back then. But again, like I said, I think that's me staring too far into everything going on and my mind working at that point. It's like I said, it becomes interesting because you ask yourself, until you found Celie, how were the children eating? Who was cooking for them? So, that was very interesting. Very interesting. Colorism arises again when Mister's father comes to visit and he says, Suge is black as tar. But he says that now, like I said, because now you're dealing with the high yellow. So now, even though Suge is in the medium spectrum of the brown or the darker brown, she's not Celie's complexion. So now it's on display the difference in our culture already. Which is why I try and tell people a lot of times the so-called racism issues that bother them and the comments that bother them, it more so bothers them because of just how they view themselves in their own culture. There's a lot of self-hate where it's just like, yeah, I don't like the brown-skinned woman because the boys like her more. Like all of this is what the opposite sex thinks of you. So now you start looking for reasons what it is instead of sometimes just accepting they're just not attracted to them. It's almost 50 million African Americans here. I would say somewhere between 20 to 30 million adults. Got a lot of options, man. And to me, it's 7 billion people on Earth, close to 8 billion. You got options just in general. Like you don't need to be letting people kind of dictate what beauty is. Beauty is always subjective. You're gonna always have guys who, like me, I love chocolate, curvy women. You won't find me with a thin, a skinny mini. That's not my thing. Could I date a light-skinned woman? Sure, I could. If the conversation was right. Like, do I find them extremely attractive? No, they are all right looking. But my thing would be like brown skin, dark skinned women. That's basically what I'm attracted to. So sexually, I would always, like, if I'm walking down the streets and I'm single, if I'm looking, it's gonna be the brown skin or the dark skinned women who I'm gonna look at, and I'll stop. And if I was gonna put my attention somewhere, it would be to one of those two women, color wise. The light skinned woman it don't do it for me. But that's just my preference. There are women who love skinny men. Should I feel a certain kind of way about that? No, it's women who love tall, chunky guys like me. It is what it is. It's women who love dark-skinned men. It's women who love brown-skinned men. It's women who love light-skinned men. Like, everybody has their preference in life, man. And as a society, we need to start accepting that and kind of just dealing with it and stop always, well, you a hater because you don't like me. I'm not entitled to like everybody. I don't have to. Just like everybody doesn't have to like me, and that's fine. But we really gonna have to get out of the bag of, unless we kind of deal with some of these colorism issues, which, our culture, they'll blame it on slavery. And then you have to ask yourself, so then how did the colorism issues, they existed well before the transatlantic slave trade even occurred in Africa. Well, you're dealing with different times also. It's kind of like I say, people love to, that's a lot of lazy talking points and lazy thinking when they love to kind of put everything on slavery. And that's why we behave the way we behave. Instead of just understanding these things are global issues. And a lot of times they'll have anything to do with this. The transatlantic slave trade, if you're being honest, that's a small snapshot. We're talking 500 years out of a place that civilization can be counted back to as much as 50, 60,000 years ago. So 500 out of 50, 60,000 years ago, we know the earth is billions of years old. So 500 years out of this place being billions of years old, that's just a snapshot. It's these issues really haven't existed as long as what the people who kind of dealing with it actually think they are when you think about how old Earth actually is. But again, like I said, his father came in and it was just like, she black as tar. She's not that dark though. Then he wanted to paint it as a picture. He wanted to paint the picture of Mr. as the so-called simp because he painted Suge as a woman with multiple kids with different fathers. And I'm trying to think if I ever remember seeing Suge's children and trying to turn her into and trying. He was basically saying his son was trying to turn a Jezebel, a whore, into a housewife. So now we get to the juke joint, where again it's game playing by women. And again, Sophia is now emasculating Harpo again. And she's going to emasculate Harpo and a new boy toy. What she says, Sophia brings her new boy toy to the juke joint to show Harpo what he's missing. Now, of course, we never call females, toxic feminists, but that's what that is. You bring your new man into your ex-husband, well, he's still your husband because they ain't got a divorce. You bring your new man into that joint, throw that into his face, and kind of emasculate him in front of all of his peers and people looking around. And you basically try and make him look like a chump again. And you bring this big wide shoulder boxer in. And it's just like, what were you trying to accomplish? Why would you bring him there? If you want to come there and chill, you come there, chill, or come sit him down first, go greet Harpo, tell him you there with another guy, and y'all keep it moving. Harpo got him a date already too. That's it. But it's done purposely. So now her and Harpo are now slow dancing. And again, the disrespect. Because they basically jog cheek to cheek dancing with a new boy toy there. So now that shows you she has no respect for him, Harpo, who was the husband, or the new dude. What you say is hoish activity? You could. Would I call it that? No, I would call it trifling, though. I would also, if I was Harpo's friend, tell him that's not a woman you want to be dealing with ever again. But that is what it is. But her and Squeak get into it. Now again, I'm only gonna reference this because it symbolizes again what the BABW, the big angry black woman, represents. She will not tolerate the hate and disrespect from any skinny, light-skinned woman. And I know you guys remember when Monique used to be on the chunkier side. All the jokes was about the skinny chicks, the light-skinned chicks. They think they cute. They think they that. That's amazing that she started to lose weight, how the skinny jokes went out the window, right? And that's how it's like we need to eat to live and get on this health tip and all of that. That's when I say, again, you get a lot of hateful, disingenuous people. They don't understand the damage they've done. And I still haven't really heard her come out and apologize to those skinny women. Because, see, they'll always tell you about fat shaming. They'll never really go into conversations about skinny shaming from heavier chicks when it's like, well, you should look like me and y'all need to eat more. Well, if you were satisfied with that weight all of the time, why would you lose the weight? Because you understood it wasn't healthy for you. We all understand as we get older, the heavier we are, the worse our body feels. You want to live longer, you have to make some food changes and some dietary changes. But there's a lot of venom, especially in our culture, between heavier set dark-skinned women and light-skinned thin women. They despise them. You also get a chance to see the big angry black woman's strength is a lot. They basically they come off as if they have the strength of a lot of men a lot of times. And I mean like big, chunky, strong men. Where they would kind of come off as if they have the strength of me almost. And you look at it and it's just like you're portraying this woman as Superwoman almost. So now we know no black man, no black person can basically stop Sophia. Harpo couldn't do it. She wasn't fearful of Mister. All of the women dominated the men. Because none of their husbands jumped in front of anything. And if you notice, when Squeak told Sophia, "You ain't nothing but a big old heifer," and smacked her, everybody left. They just packed up. What you hear the dude say, "Uh-oh, time to go." All you heard was guitar cases closing. They closed up the piano. That was it. She balled that fist up and punched Squeak almost 10 feet across the room, knocked into the water. That was a Popeye punch almost. So that'll be right there. We cut this episode and end this right here. Like I said, this will be the new format. We're not going to go any longer. Next episode may be like an hour and 20 minutes. I doubt it. Just because I'm going to play some clips from the epic table scene to kind of finish off the movie at the end. But this is your boy, the Hood Nerd, presents the Deep Dive. I'll holler at y'all. Y'all have a safe time. Be safe out there. Be easy. Until next time, I'm out.